all right, this week I'm going to do lots of little jobs. Now, the thing is about those jobs that you've not done, these little projects that you never really finish, they're like these little kind of mice that just gnaw away at your brain. So one, I'm going to go around and do all those jobs, and two, I'll talk about that curious psychological issue that we all have, why we have it, and how we can use it to our own advantage.
This is job number 1. When the wing gets up, the door gets slammed wide open. And since the door handle was never designed for this bus, it's the first thing that hits the body of the bus. And over the years, this has created a big dent. Every time this happens, it annoys me. I mean, like, it really annoys me. If the wing could be punched, I probably would have punched it by now, at least once. It's a job that I've put off because it seems too small and trifling to be dealing with. But it's something I interact with regularly, and all of these little things add up, and they're like a patchwork of items that make a quilt that is my life. So today, I'm fixing it.
Today, I'm going to make a couple of doors for our food cupboards. We've been living without them for the last few months, and no, it's fine, you get used to it. But it's kind of messy, and I thought, it looks a bit untidy, let's put some doors on it. So that's what I'm going to do today.
When I said a few months, what I actually mean is 2 years. Human beings have a tendency to remember unfinished tasks. I guess in the case of the bus door, this was a good thing. Without this tendency, I may have forgotten about it and the door handle would have eventually smashed the bus, or vice versa. So sometimes it can be a good thing, but sometimes it can create unnecessary cognitive tension, the mice nibbling at my brain. I'm fitting concealed Euro hinges on this door. You can fit them without all this gear, you just need to mark and measure and drill very carefully. I'm using this jig as it just speeds the process up. The ability to recall unfinished tasks better than finished ones is known as the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect was named after Bluma Zeigarnik, a Russian psychologist who first identified this phenomena in the 1920s. Zeigarnik noticed something curious while eating at a cafe. Waiters were able to remember orders that had not yet been completed much more accurately than orders that had already been paid for and finished. She later set up a series of experiments that investigated this idea and proved that it wasn't just the waiters doing this.
The holes I drilled for the finger pulls are obviously pretty rough, they're kind of sharp around the edges, so I'm using this round over bit in here just to kind of smooth it out.
This is my oversized router. It's great for quickly cutting in profiles onto wood. I personally like routers, but they are noisy and can be a bit intimidating at times. Again, it's something that you don't need. You could easily put a nice edge on this door with a block of wood and some sandpaper. It would just take longer. So it appears that the brain needs cognitive closure. Unfinished tasks continue to demand attention even if we consciously push them aside. When we leave tasks incomplete, they can linger in our minds. The more tasks we leave unfinished, the more mental energy is consumed, and we end up with a cycle of procrastination. This is a little job that's been on my mind, but in a positive way. I'm calling it the chilly wall. I grew a few chili peppers last year and preserved them in salt. It was so easy. Just sliced chilies and a bit of salt in a jar and they last ages. So this year I'm doubling down. The Zeigarnik effect explains why people may feel mentally burdened when they have too many incomplete tasks. Each unfinished task contributes to a feeling of task saturation or mental overload, which leads to stress, and that in turn makes it difficult to focus on the tasks that are actually at hand. I sometimes get this when I zoom out too far. I start thinking about this entire off-grid project, all the tasks that have to be done, from building shelter to collecting more water and so on. And this overload of projects can stop me concentrating on a simple little task like making this cupboard door. For me, the best way to get around this is to break things down into a series of smaller, simpler tasks. As each gets completed, it can be wiped from the mind. I'm putting on a coat of polyurethane. I like to use this or hard wax oil if I can get it. I want a finish that will make it easy to keep the doors clean, but without changing the wood colour.
I put up these outdoor lights just running across these beams down here the other week, and they're great. What's not so great about them is the way that I turn them on. I'll show you. So the power's in here, you've got to kind of reach down, open this up. This is annoying, and then it sort of switches all the way in there. It's not great, so I'm going to put a switch up there.
I bought this tool recently. It was a total revelation to me. It's an automatic wire stripper. Doesn't matter the size of the wire, you just put it in and it strips it. Well, automatically. If you don't have one, get one. They're awesome.
It works. I shouldn't be surprised, should I? But it does. Cool.
I started to think about the Zeigarnik effect as I was making this video. Maybe it's the same psychological effect that keeps us humans so interested in storytelling. Each part of a story is like an unclosed loop. Similar to an unfinished task, we want to know how the story will end, and so we keep reading. I started off sanding these cabinet doors, and if you're still here with me, watching me install them, then maybe that's the Zeigarnik effect in action, the uncompleted task that needed to be finished.
This feels massively satisfying to have this done. It's funny, when we first moved in here, you know, you do all these jobs in terms of priorities, what do you need, and you need some shelves, but you don't necessarily need doors for the shelves. So, and then once you don't have them, you kind of get used to it, and I've got used to looking at the contents of the cupboard over the past 2 years, but it's a lot nicer to have it all out of the way, so that's cool.
Since I was at it, I thought I'd make this little mini cabinet just to fill the small gap down by the cooker.
It does actually feel quite good to have all those little jobs out the way. Thank you so much for watching. Join me next week when I'll be back onto doing big projects again.